Welcome everyone to the SkillCat weekly blog post. With us today, we have David Small. He's the manager of technical excellence and quality assurance at Crossway Mechanical, and he also has over 30 years of experience in the HVAC field and is a consultant with SkillCat. Thanks for being here, David.
Thank you for inviting me, Eric. Glad to be here.
Yeah, always happy to talk. Well, cool. I thought we kind of just start off by having you just go through your background and kind of what your journey's been like through HVAC.
Okay, well, I got into HVAC kind of on accident. I was in the United States Army and I found out that General Electric had a veterans hiring preference. They're a GE Central Air Conditioning Department in Tyler, Texas. So my parents told me about that. I moved over there and started out in the assembly line. Actually, I started out in the paint department stacking up pallets. So it's like sanding off paint blemishes and everything. And from there, I graduated to the assembly line, got to actually hand materials out to the assembly line workers, and then moved from there to the person to actually put the screws in. And so worked up through the factory. It's been a really, really rewarding career. You know, from the ground up, that was immeasurably valuable experience because you see everything that goes into turning raw materials into finished products and all the steps in between. And so I've gone from there into marketing, training, and technical support for Trane. I was a laboratory technician for 4.5 years in the research and development lab for Trane also. And then graduated as a product support specialist and national trainer for the American Standard brand, which is Trane. They have 2 brands. And from there, I've gone into field support here in the greater Houston area. I've done field support for the Trane distributor, Hunson Distribution here, also for the Carrier Bryant distributor, Carrier Enterprise. I started my own company, Air Analyst, HVAC. It's still an active license, but I am working with a really good friend of mine. His name is Brian Wright. He owns Crossway Mechanical. I've known him for years, and we've talked about working together for years. So in my golden years, my old age, I'm trying to keep up with the young guys. And so it's been a 35-year plus career. I'm 63 years old, and if you look at some of my posts, I'm still getting to hang in there and monkey around in the attics and stretch ductwork now and again. Not too much anymore. It's been a great career, Eric.
That's awesome.
Some people would say it's kind of a upside down parabola because, you know, you usually start out hanging ductwork, and then you end up doing training and tech support for a manufacturer or something. And I started out in the lab, did training and tech support for a manufacturer, and now I finally graduated to the guy that actually hangs ductwork.
You reversed the normal path.
Yeah.
That's great. Fun. Well, cool. I mean, you've been in the HVAC industry for so long. How has it changed over 35 years? I'd imagine it doesn't look anything like how it used to.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. When I was going to Tyler Junior College, I remember my instructor, he brought one of the very first laptop computers I ever saw in my life. He brought it into the classroom and he said, "Wave of the future, boys, wave of the future." He says, "I'm going to show you how to use this software and this computer to talk to the air conditioner." It's like, yeah, right. And so now the standard efficiency air conditioning system these days usually has at least 2 computers driving it. That's the thermostat on the wall. We don't call them thermostats anymore. Those are comfort controls. Those are human interface devices, right? And so now you get some of the higher efficiency variable capacity equipment. You might have 7 to 9 onboard computers with Bluetooth interface to the air conditioning system. So yeah, it's nice. Sometimes you can actually look into the air conditioner before you ever leave the office and get a clue what might be wrong before you get there.
Yeah, it's funny. I never even thought that, 20 years ago, however long it was ago, someone telling you that the AC was going to have a computer, and it must have just seemed insane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's even getting better than that. Predictive modeling and with the lower cost of different kinds of sensors and transmitters, the ability to instrument a system and connect it up to some central repository for information and have the air conditioner call the serviceman. It
Okay.
tells serviceman, hey, something's wrong with me out here. I'm moving a few less BTUs. I'm burning a few more watts of energy. But beyond that, technology has advanced so much. There's an old joke about how do you charge an air conditioner, right? You charge it until the vapor line is beer can cold. I like to call it the Coors Light charging method. So you take a Coors Light can and empty it by whatever method you deem appropriate. Then you cut it open, you wrap it around the vapor line, and when the mountains turn blue, then the refrigerant's cold enough.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So the
I love
classroom joke on that is that this procedure may need to be repeated up to 6 times.
it. That's so good. You get a beer.
Then they
And
got
you get
right
a
by the
test
6th time,
line.
it's time to call somebody else.
That's awesome. So, I mean, I guess that brings up the question of when someone new is getting into the industry, how familiar do they need to be with technology? I mean, like, has that really changed what a tech needs to know, or is most of it kind of designed really well that people can just kind of jump into it?
So as far as the physics involved in the air conditioning system, the majority of the physical principles that you need to understand, you should have gotten a pretty good handle on by the 8th grade. It's physical science, you know, and basic chemistry. There's not super high level chemistry in it. And it's not rocket science. It's chemical, electromechanical, thermodynamic engineering, but it's not rocket science. So I'm teasing. It really is. When you think about it, you take the most complicated machine like the space shuttle, you break it down into one individual little system. How does that system work? So if you understand the basics of, you know, basic electricity, you know, which way does heat flow from, you know, hot to cold, a little bit about pressure and gravity, and a lot of the things that I use in my career is things I learned in the Cub Scouts. You know, just basic natural occurring phenomenon that God created that mankind has learned to bolt together to make machines work. So just, yeah, pay attention in class, you know, and there are wonderful websites out there. One of my favorite websites or TV shows is How Stuff Works. You ever watch that show?
I don't think I have. I've definitely heard of it though.
Yeah, How Stuff Works. Or there's another show out there called How It's Made. You know,
I think I may have seen a couple episodes of that one.
Yeah, they actually went to the train plant when I was working there and shot some footage there. And of course, I know more about, to put in 5 minutes what takes years to research and develop and hours and hours and hours to put together. But the air conditioning industry is so crucial to our modern life. The heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and all the principles involved. If we didn't have these principles, we wouldn't be able to keep food in the refrigerator. Same principles, right? During the COVID-19 outbreak, Eric, HVAC people were deemed essential workers because what are you going to do if you have a hospital, clean room, and the air purification system goes down? That's how vital this role is. Just keeping people healthy. Some parts of the world, heating and air conditioning can be life-sustaining. You let's say you're up in the northern climates, up in Minnesota, North Dakota, you're in the middle of a blizzard. If you can't provide heat, people die.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a critical industry.
Yeah, it's interesting. Before I got kind of started working in the space, obviously I knew about HVAC, but I for whatever reason never realized how important it is. And I think a lot of people are in that boat if they don't realize how kind of critical it is for our everyday that we have, whether it's your classroom isn't, 110 degrees or whatever it may be, I was kind of curious, why do you think, I guess the industry hasn't gotten the attention that maybe it deserves, or that it isn't labeled as critical as it is?
So a lot of that has to do with education and promotion, or even just the individual companies as they're out talking with homeowners, explaining to the homeowners how the machine works. Most homeowners, if you stop and ask them which device in your home uses the most energy, they will automatically jump to either the refrigerator or the air conditioner most of the time. Sometimes they talk the big screen TVs and the home theater, but the refrigerator and the air conditioner, those are the biggest energy consuming devices. And so which ones require the most attention? You know, a lot of times we use automotive analogies. So when it comes to education to the general public, it's all about promotion, you know, and all about the leadership in schools. Whenever we have young people coming into these educational institutions, then they're kind of pushed towards computer programming, aerospace, medicine, petroleum technologies, you know, energy, but they don't think of heating and ventilation and air conditioning as the energy industry, but that's really what it is. It's energy and comfort harmonized is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be really more the application of a lot of things that people may be learning in school, which is funny because a lot of people come out of school with an engineering degree. I don't think they could probably work on an HVAC system, you know what I mean? Which is theoretically what they just learned about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is always interesting to see. And so, I mean, I guess, you know, you have a really unique perspective, David, because you spent so much time training. What do you think people need to know when they're looking to get into the field?
Well, of course, there's an example. I'm a Bible student too, and there's an example where Jesus was talking about who of you is going to go to build a tower that doesn't first sit down and count the cost. For heaven forbid, you should start the project, get halfway done, and run out of money. Right? So there's a cost associated with any vocation. And so there's pros and cons. You have to weigh it. You know, what is this going to cost me? Well, I'm going to have to learn the technology, the technology is not really changing so much as the application of the technology expands and grows daily. I started to say yearly, but it's more like daily. So keeping up with the ways the science is multiplied and expanded upon is a lifetime, but very fascinating endeavor. So you've got to be willing to keep learning. You're not going to know it all. And as soon as you think you do know it all, something new is going to be thrown at you. You know, inverter drives, communicating, you know, binary communicating system, multiplexing communicating systems. Sounds really complicated, right? It's not. It's not. It's really pretty easy. You know, electrons only know two ways to go. That's this way or that way. And so you can send information that way. In computer science, if you've been trained on computers, understand a little bit more than the human interfaces, you know, how to search social media and use a mouse and everything like that. Computers have logic, you know, kind of get a clue about how computers think. You know, it's either on or off, hot or cold, in or out, on or off, you know, zeros and ones. That's how computers think. And so the way some of the air conditioning communication systems work, it's that binary.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I mean, let's say someone listening maybe they're considering getting into HVAC. What do you think the pros and cons would be? Like if you were kind of looking back and looking at someone joining your company new and you had to be honest with them and tell them, hey, here are the pros, here are the cons. What do you think they would be?
Okay, the pro is everybody needs it. You know, like I said, when the COVID epidemic hit, a lot of people were told to stay home. A lot of people take pay cuts. We got a letter that we put in the visor of our trucks that said, essential workers, this guy can be on the street, you know? And hey, guess what? A lot of the folks that not going on vacation because either they don't have the money or they just won't travel or can't travel, guess what they're doing? They're staying home and they're remodeling. So construction trades and HVAC people, we're actually seeing pretty steady work. Where other people are hurting, our paychecks have been pretty consistent. Our technicians are working full time. You know, there's guys on call working right now. It's Saturday it's Friday afternoon. These guys are working. That's the pro. The pro is if you apply yourself, you believe in yourself, and you invest in yourself, then there's really no limit to where you can go with it, just almost like in any industry. The con is, of course, you're probably not going to start at the top. You know, you gotta earn your stripes, and which is good because, like I said, me sending off paint blemishes and passing out screws and everything, my insight into how these machines are born, and then working as a R&D laboratory technician, which was a step up. I learned pure science. I was able to be taught by the gentlemen and ladies that create these machines, right, or improve them. So the science that I learned was pure science. I would say that one of the pros of this industry is you can really get a good understanding into how the universe works, right? How our creator made everything synergistic. The other pro that comes with that is the people you're going to work with are generally going to be honest, hardworking people. And the good ones will have the attitude that they're there to serve. Right? We're blessed where I work to have that pretty much, as everybody that works there has that mentality. We're there to serve, but we're also there to build each other up. We invest in ourselves. For anybody starting any vocation, personal development is crucial. You know, we are what we eat. We also become what we think about. So if I think I'm an expert in the field that I choose, and if I'm doing something that I really, really want to do, and I'm working progressively toward achieving that goal, if my goal is to be a trainer, my goal is to be a salesman, my goal is to be a business owner, my goal is to be just the ace service tech, in demand, all the customers ask for me. If that's what makes me happy and that's my goal, and I believe that, and I think about that every day when I get up, then that's where I'm going to be. And I'm going to be happy doing it. And by everybody's measurement, I'll be a success. And so I love my job. You know, I was working in the backyard with a technician the other day. It was 104 degrees in the backyard on the west side of the house at 5 p.m, hotter than the blazes. We're out there sweating bullets. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, Daniel, you love your job?" He says, "I don't know so much about that right now." It's like, man, get a good sweat going. That's whenever I'm like like a snake, whenever I get hot, I move faster.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And, I like two things that you said. One, that the HVAC industry is full of really hardworking, good people. That's really been my experience as well. It's been honestly a pleasure to talk to a lot of people I talk to. The other one I kind of had a question on was, how often are people coming in and expecting that they're going to be great at this in a month or 2 months, or, how common is that expectation that people are going to kind of walk on and be at the top?
When in maybe the sales arena, I'd say that may be fairly common. But in the technical side of it, most people are not that cocky that way. Unless they did really, really well in school, and maybe they went through a vocational program in school and they were top of their class, and they're good with their tools, their manual dexterity and their concept of machinery and everything is ace. Then they may be a little bit cocky, and you just work with that. But no, humility is required.
Gotcha. And I mean, that's actually one of the questions I had for you was, if people were thinking about going to technical school before they get into the industry, what is your kind of view on that? You know what I mean? Like, how do people really experience in the industry see graduates of technical school? Does it not matter that much? Is it something that is very valuable? You know what I mean?
Technical training is extremely valuable. It's a huge plus. I went to Tyler Junior College. My degree is an associate's degree in heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration. And then I started studying computer science and got busy training and never finished that. I've used a lot of it. But the foundation, it's like anything. If you don't have that solid foundation, then you don't have anything to work with. So understanding machines, understanding basic electrical circuits, understanding construction in this business is a plus. I know in my classes we had blueprint reading. That was huge. helped me out a lot. How are you going to understand how to look at a set of plans and determine how much heat's going to go in and out of the building if you can't read a print? So ask questions. Ask the instructors. Don't let the instructors just throw stuff at you because they're getting a paycheck. Make them teach you and practice.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I guess the next question for David. So one of the things I've been finding a lot is that there seems to be, like, people may want to go into HVAC, but there's so many different, I guess, variations or branches of HVAC. I mean, not only do you have residential and commercial, but you have the different sizes. You have maybe like a small family-owned residential HVAC company. You may have a regional contractor. You may have a nationwide contractor. And so one of the things I've been seeing is when people are looking to enter the field, is there any of those they should be avoiding? Is there any that like they should really set their sights on, or kind of, I guess, groups that don't hire entry level? Like what's that like?
There are, I'm sorry, it's going to be a roundabout answer, but like in some areas, there's, Texas is a right to work state. Some areas have unions and apprenticeship programs where you're required to go through the apprenticeship program. And if you can't just test out, then, hey, that's a great deal. That's like learning and getting paid while you learn. You can't beat that. I was kind of fortunate. I was in the Army when I was younger, so I got the Vietnam era GI Bill. So I got paid to go to school, right? And so that was really nice. And then I was also working in the laboratory for Train at the same time, so I was getting paid to go to school because I was working with all these design engineers, So I was learning all day long, every day, and getting paid for it. So that's not going to work out for everybody. It's not. That's not everybody's story, unless you can find a way to make that happen. If you're working with somebody that you're impressed with what they know, then ask them a million questions. The ones that really know and love the business, they'll be happy to spend as much time as they can and answer your questions. But I think it's up to the individual to assess the company. It's like on a job interview, it's just as important for the candidate to interview the potential employer to find out how well they fit and where the opportunities are and what they can learn from them. So maybe if you don't know anything, starting with the little mom and pop business may not work for you because they may need somebody that can jump in there and start generating revenue right then and there, selling, servicing. The larger companies may have a better, more comprehensive training program for you. I don't know. You may find the mom and pop store has the mentality that they like to grow people and teach them their way of doing things. So you can get in with a company that their whole MO is how fast can we do it? Or you might get in with a company, their whole MO, like Crossway, is how well can we do it? We usually put twice as many people and maybe take twice as long as another company. But you go look at our work and the results and our warranty and the satisfied customers, it's well worth it. So avoid fly-by-night companies, that maybe just got started up, that don't have uniforms, don't identify their vehicles. Those are people that are not going to be around. You want a company that, even if they're brand new, if they've gone out presenting themselves to the world as, hey, we're here to stay, then maybe you could get on the ground floor of something that's going to grow really big.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, it sounds kind of like you're saying, maybe trying to get into an apprenticeship at a larger company might be a good place to start. I mean, I guess Train could kind of be like that, correct?
Yeah. Or any of the major manufacturers, they all have their service agencies, right? They're manufacturers, but they also have, especially in the commercial world, they have service companies. Train, Carrier, York, they all do. And I just threw some out. That's not all of them. There's municipalities, school systems, Some religious organizations have training programs because they have a lot of holdings, you know, and so
Yeah.
they have to maintain those holdings. So yeah, it's just kind of like see what the opportunities are, but the foundation has to be yourself. Invest in yourself. You are the product, and that's what we teach our guys where I work. Is the air conditioner is not the primary product. I mean, the brand we choose to sell, we choose because of a lot of different reasons, warranty and dependability. But the company that I work for is the product. And we teach our technicians that that truck you drive is your own little business, right? And when you're out there, you want the homes, when you leave the home, when they call back, they say, I want that guy back, right? And so you're developing your customer base, and we teach them, hopefully, there'll be a time whenever you'll leave here, start your own business, and take all those customers with you, because you will have grown to the point to where you're now an ally. You're not a competitor. And together, we're going to be better.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Um, and I mean, how often how often is someone going to start their own company? Like how common is that in the industry?
Well, here in Houston, everybody's an air conditioning contractor. I say that tongue in cheek, but you know,
Yeah,
it's a high demand. It's a high demand business. So there's a lot of AC contractors in the greater Houston area, and next some come and go. The solid companies stick around a while. So I guess you could answer that by saying how many solid companies are there if you look them up on the internet. But of those companies, let's say you found 1,000 companies, you're going to find 30,000 employees, or maybe 20,000 employees. So it's going to be 1 out of 10 is going to start their own company. The other 9 people are going to be comfortable working for somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then kind of follow up to what we were talking about earlier. Obviously, seasonality is a big deal in HVAC. There tends to be kind of the summer season where things really ramp up. How does that impact someone who might be looking to get into the field? Like some of our listeners may be like, maybe you sold them, David. They want to come work for Crossway Mechanical. Like, I need a job. Let's do it. How does the seasonality of the industry really affect, I guess, people's chances to get a job? Like, should they wait until January to really go after it, or?
So going back to the individual's interview with the potential hiring company, a good question would be, what systems, processes, or strategies do you have to try to keep me employed all year long, a level load? And that's maintenance contracts, commercial, like commercial maintenance contracts. If you live in Louisville, Kentucky, or someplace where you got hot summers and cold winters, hey, guess what? You don't have that problem. You got 6 weeks in the spring and 6 weeks in the fall when nobody needs air conditioning. The rest of the year, they need air conditioning, heating or cooling, right? So that's a pretty stable there. Now here in Houston, from an individual perspective, you have to be a good money manager, and that's the biggest impact. You have to be like a squirrel, just because there's a lot of nuts on the ground, you don't eat them all. You're going to have to put some to the side. So you have to learn to budget, and you have to get on that budget. And if you get 3 times that money 1 month, you have to realize that December, you might not get that much money.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And do you see that at large companies? You see it at small companies too? Like, is that pretty much universal across the board?
Well, yeah, and depending on the climate, of course, like I said, and depending on the market too. Some companies are into commercial refrigeration, and they're into commercial new construction. And so if they're in commercial new construction and they're in an area that's growing readily, like the Houston area is, and maybe they're into refrigeration and commercial refrigeration, hey, and refrigeration side of it, it's a year-round job. And it's a high demand job. You get the big grocery chains, they have their own service departments. But everybody that stores food in a refrigerator or a freezer, restaurants, if those freezers and refrigerators go down, there's a lot of money tied up there,
Mhm.
but you got to be willing to work at midnight.
Yeah,
But you
that
know
could be
what? You can
one
be
of the
in
cons.
demand and
Yeah.
you can make good money because they're going to pay. You know, to keep that product from spoiling, they're going to pay. Whoever can get there fastest, first, and fix it best is going to get the job, and they're going to get to come back over and over again. But they have to be willing to get up at midnight.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Service is going to be the number one criteria.
Service is the key
Um,
to success in anything you do, anyway.
yeah, yeah, no, it's a very good point. So I mean, is there any strategies for, I guess I'm just trying to think of like people who are looking to get into the industry. Is there any good strategies for them to be sure they're at a company that's going to hold on to them through the winter instead of doing maybe mass layoffs or something like that? Like, are the bigger companies safe? Is it really not dependent on size? Is it more dependent on the company? Like what?
From a personal standpoint, the primary strategy is to never be satisfied with where you are as far as your knowledge and your expertise and your abilities. Always seek to improve yourself.
Hmm.
Um, Personal development, as I said, and I'm not talking about just technical. I'm talking about from a spiritual standpoint, from an intellectual standpoint, the ability to express yourself, understanding other people. There's so much that goes into that, but it's all so valuable. This is a people industry,
Hmm.
right? Especially in the residential world. It's a highly people-facing industry, so you have to be ready to develop strategies to handle different situations, you know. But there's no guarantees in life. I'll give you an illustration. Whenever I was working for Train, I had been there for 25 years. I had my hands in so many different things: warranty, website development, even consulted with a controller once in a while, and was thought I was, you know, immune. So
Yeah.
2008 came, you know, the Great Recession of 2008. And in April, I got my gold watch for 25 years. And in December, I got my pink slip because
Wow.
the economy was that bad. They
Hmm.
kept having to cut. And finally got to the point to where they cut it really thin, which, you know, I made myself valuable. And so I landed really well, landed on my feet down here in Houston. And that's the other thing. If you invest in yourself and stay humble, don't blow your own horn. Let somebody else blow it for you. Right? Let your actions speak. And then you may get cut someplace, but you'll land someplace else because you'll be that valuable. And the proof will be in your experience and how you carry yourself. You know, what you can say about what you do, what you know.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think
what a contrast between the gold watch and the pink slip within
I know. Six
not that
months.
long of a time. I mean, but I like what you're saying. I mean, you're not even saying like, hey, when you go to a company, make sure that they're going to keep you on through the winter. You're saying, develop yourself enough so that even if they did let you go, you're ready to go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I like that angle a lot more. It puts a lot more kind of in your control and in your court instead of,
Well, and see, there's the other thing is you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, as if you even investing, you know, you kind of diversify. And if you diversify your skills and abilities at some level where you can, then you can help with others, like helping you guys with SkillCat. That is a tremendous boost for me because I get to contribute to helping other people discover a way of life, you know, or a vocation, I should say, that is very rewarding,
Mhm.
right? And you can go to bed at night with a good, clean conscience because you've earned every nickel you got, right? Whether you're in sales and you're a high dollar salesman making $1 million a year, because you can't do that unless you're good, you know, unless you know what you're doing and
Yeah.
trustworthy. So you've earned every nickel you got.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, I can tell from personal experience, we appreciate your help tremendously. Um, One of the other things I wanted to ask you, David, was in a lot of companies I talk to, there seems to be kind of like a shortage of experienced techs, maybe like 2 years, 2 to 5 years experience. Um, Do you know why that is? And I mean, for someone new entering the field, do you think that that might translate into really great job prospects for them that far down the line?
Oh, it could be the seasonality. You know, security is a big deal, especially if you got family. You know, having a steady paycheck is really important. It could be the strain on the body. You know, this is not an industry for the weak and for folks that are out of shape. You have to take care of yourself, right? You got to eat right. You need to wear your protective equipment. You need to be careful how you lift. You need to, so safety and safety training is a big key to longevity. The other thing could be the grass is greener scenario, right? If you're good in this skilled trade, technical trade, maybe you feel like you could be, I don't know, automotive service tech. You know, when and if cars are used every day, there's no seasonality in that. But
Yeah,
that's a pretty full industry as well. Other
interesting.
than that, just wear out. You know,
Okay.
the body can only take so much
Mm,
unless you can take care of it. Like I said, I'm 63 years old and I'm up in the attics, I'm in the rafters and everything, but I'm very strict about how I eat, right? I don't abuse alcohol. I try to make sure I sleep right, right? I don't eat junk food
mhm.
and I try to get enough sleep at night and I try to take care of my spirit and my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean that makes a ton of sense. I mean, so have you experienced that where like there's a gap in the 3 to 5 year experience range, or I guess maybe even 3 years and above, somewhere around there? Have you found that as well?
I've seen that in turnover and only in this area because there is such a high turnover and the demographics of the workforce
Hmm.
in the greater Houston area. Other areas you go to where there's trade organizations, unions, apprenticeship programs, and good year-round work like Northeast, you know, in the Midwest, you don't see that as much.
Hmm.
You see people coming in. If they last the first 2 years, they pretty much stick with it. In the first 2 years, you're going to figure out if this is for you or not, right? And then if after 2 years you decide this is what you want to do, those people get good at it. They end up becoming business owners, service managers, or they're just really happy being the best solutions provider for their territory that they can be. And they live a long, happy life doing that. And they get to share that with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be a very rewarding job from the people I talk to. Um, well, cool, David. Anything else you kind of wanted to talk about?
Only that, you know, I think anybody that's watching this, that's even considering this, don't get hung up on the climate, the conditions, the hard work, anything like that, because you're not going to kill yourself doing the work. If you're working that hard and that fast, you're taking too many shortcuts. You're going to get hurt. So working at a pace that helps you think right is how things get done faster. The other thing is that I've been doing it 36 years, haven't missed a paycheck in 36 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
It's a good business to be in.
No, I believe it, especially with how much it's growing.
Yeah.
It seems like it's only up from here too. Um, well, cool, David. How can people get in touch with you if they want to kind of connect with you after this and maybe ask a few more questions, or even if they're interested in Crossway Mechanical?
Oh, so well, I've got a LinkedIn account. David Small, Air Analyst, is my LinkedIn account. That's also my Facebook and Instagram. So I'm posting on those too, and I'm going to be starting a YouTube channel before too long. Don't have it yet. Got a lot of ideas and got a lot of footage laid down, but I just haven't gotten over that hurdle of getting postings out there. But yeah, LinkedIn is a good way.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, David. I appreciate you coming on to the show, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.